Hello, truth seekers. Thank you, first off, thank you so much for praying for our boot camp this past weekend. It was an amazing time. God was truly moving in the lives of these men at boot camp. And I just want to first off say thank you so much. Boot camp, I would say, was a huge success. It was the 8th year for boot camp and the largest to date, with over 360 men in attendance at boot camp. 67 men, including myself, were baptized or rebaptized in the Nueces River on Sunday morning, and it was a wonderful time of seeing how God works and God reaching out and touching these men's lives. Allow me to tell you a little bit about boot camp, what it's all about. Uh, Boot camp was based off of John Eldridge's book, uh, Wild at Heart, and the boot camps that he started in Colorado. It is a time for us to get together as men, pour into each other's lives, and to allow God to draw out the spiritual leader that He has put in each one of us men. It is a time for us to get intel into what the enemy is doing and the spiritual war that we're in. It's a time for us to find our identity in Christ and for us to learn a little bit about the beauty that we're fighting for, the beauty being our wives. Uh, it is also a time for us to gain a little bit more spiritual freedom, freedom in Christ. And it was just a blessed time. Along with the 10 large group sessions over the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we had smaller group sessions called fire teams, to where a smaller number of men get together. I believe I had like 6 other men with me in my group, where we just poured into one another, um, shared our life together, uh, forged new friendships, and strengthened older friendships. And it's just a wonderful time, the small groups as well. I'm sure the testimonies from boot camp are endless, uh, but I can only share from my end. Uh, Over the past few months, I have felt at times God telling me to uh, go pray for this person or go pray for this person when I'm just walking through a store or something. And I'll get excited and I'll kind of start making my way that way, and then I'll kind of veer off because fear will grip me. And one thing I wanted to do at boot camp was get that broken off, get released from that fear. And we have a prayer tent at boot camp that's available all day for you to go and get prayer for different needs. And so that's what I did. I went to the prayer tent and I asked for prayer for this particular thing. And I prayed with a man named Scott, one of the prayer team leaders, and he told me that I had a spirit of fear attached to me that we were going to break off and get rid of. And after we had cast that spirit of fear out, and he had me ask God to show me uh, where that fear attached itself, so that I could go back and correct that. Uh, and in that, God showed me that it attached itself to me way back when I first proposed to Amanda. Uh, I did it out of fear, a fear that I was going to lose her, because I knew that coming up she had been invited to go somewhere and do some things with an ex-boyfriend, and I was afraid I was going to lose her. I wanted to prevent that, so I proposed to her, thinking that if she accepted my proposal, then she would stay with me, and she wouldn't go off with this other guy. Uh, it was a hard thing for me to watch in my head as it was playing out. Uh, but just between you and me, now I get an opportunity in the coming weeks and months to plan to repropose to Amanda for the right reasons, not out of fear, but out of love. Uh, but that's just between us, okay? Don't tell her I said anything. Uh, we also talked about some other things. He had mentioned that um, he was getting the sense that I wasn't giving 100% at home, uh, being 100% in my marriage, giving 100% in that, and that kind of struck home to me as just 2 days before leaving, a man and I had gotten into a little argument about just housework. And she said, "Well, I hope while you're at your boot camp, God works on you about doing more around the house." And I quickly snapped back, "Well, I just want him to show me what his will is for me, and it might not have anything to do with you." And God slapped me in the back of the head that day, saying, "It does have to do with her because you're not giving 100%. So I have made a commitment to God to give 100%. Now, before I left the prayer tent, Scott told me to ask God if I could just sit in his lap. And when I did, I felt this light and warmth just envelop me, come around me. And then I felt like two arms just come around me and squeeze me. Now, I'm a pretty big guy, so it's not easy for somebody to come up and just squeeze me like that. So I know it was the Father showing me that he loves me. That was on Friday. On Saturday, we had one session about identity, finding our identity in Christ. Now, at the end of the session, they have you go to have alone time with God, and they wanted you to ask God, to ask him, how do you see me, or what is my name, what name do you have for me? uh, and so I did. I asked God, uh, what is my name? And he called me Firewalker and explained it to me. He said, you are one who will walk through the fire but not get burned. That was very exciting, yet very scary for me at the same time, because excited I'm going to not be burned when the fire comes, and then fire's coming. I'm going to walk through fire. But he has eased that fear and taken that away from me, and I get to know that when you put fire, something is on fire, and you put it in fire, nothing changes. We'll just get a deeper sense of God's closeness to me. So that's very exciting. Now, during one of the praise and worship sessions, I'm just singing to God at the top of my lungs because I love to sing praises to him. And while I'm singing, I just got this overwhelming sense of love and peace. And it was so overwhelming, just the love of the Father pouring over me. I couldn't help but just begin to cry and thank God for what he has done for me, sending his son to die on the cross for me, just for me. I mean, if it would have only been to save me, Ricky Hendon, from my sins, he would have done that. And just that sense of love, it was amazing. At that point, I made the commitment to live out 100% for him, and I wanted to make that public. So that night I signed up to be rebaptized the next morning in the Nueces River. And one of my best friends, a guy that I admire and I share time with as men, and we pour into one another, um, Jeremy Nell, he baptized me along with my fire team leader, Chad Hulsey, and another new friend of mine, Greg Parks. He got into the Nueces River with us and helped to baptize me, and it was just a wonderful time. So again, I want to say thank you for praying for us while we were at boot camp. It was an awesome time. God was really moving. I ask for continued prayers for all the men who went to boot camp. Just say a simple prayer that God continue to strengthen all of us, because now that we have renewed this fire, rekindled our love for our wives, rekindled our love for God, the enemy is coming to attack, and he's coming hard because he does not want this. So we ask for continued prayers of strength and love and honor for our God and our families. Thank you so much for what you've prayed for us already, and we'll be praying for you. God bless you all. Thank you.